Good evening, everyone. Let's call our meeting to order. I'd ask Council Catcher to offer prayer and pledge of allegiance. Everyone stand, please.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight and we pray that everything we say and do bring honor and glory to you. We also pray for head protection around our men and women who are serving our country right now, are being deployed to Eastern Europe. And Father God, we just ask that you prevail in that matter. Maintain peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
John Kitcher.
Here.
Troy Shropshire.
Here.
Dennis Nance. Steve Smith.
Here.
Randy Chitwood.
Here.
Brianna Breakfield.
Here.
Jimmy Trammell.
Here.
Lori Seaver.
Here.
Thank you. Item 2, we have petitions from the audience. I know of one. Would recognize Chris. Are you going to speak?
Yes.
This is
In my hall.
Chris Graves. Please speak right into the microphone, sir.
Well, I was here a couple of meetings ago, and I wanted to come back this evening and give you a little bit of an update on what I've been doing the last month and some of the conversations. So I think the last time I was here, I made a statement about I thought we could probably repair the pool for a little less money than what had been estimated at, on the numbers that you all saw. And so I went and talked with Mr. Paddock, who's the same man that provided the original numbers. And based upon a conversation with him, it looks like the number that we could use from a planning standpoint going forward is between 500 and 800,000 for repairs. Now, the scope of that work is, it's sandblast the interior of the pool, repair the concrete to uniform finish, and apply epoxy coating throughout the pool, remove and replace all expansion joint caulking on interior pool, and also renovate the men and women's bathroom. And that would include floors, showers, lavatories, water closets, and partitions. And then there's some miscellaneous, some of that in there is for, things that maybe we didn't see going in. So I think a good planning number right now, based upon the conversations we had, are somewhere between 500 and 800. Given that, we need to go ahead and sit down and have a discussion about scope. And is that actually the final scope for this repair? Now, the difference is, in the number that we saw earlier, the 4.6 million, I think, going by memory here, let's see what it was. Actually, 5.1 was the high end for renovating the pool. That was renovation. So to me, that means bringing everything back to new, just like it was day one. And so that's the difference in what we're doing now is, this is just scoping it as, let's repair what's broken to get it restored to where it's functional and usable, and go from there. Now, what that doesn't do is, it doesn't talk about what useful life is yet. So that's the could. And this is where we get into what could we do? Now we're about to enter that phase, what should we do? And the should, I've put together some information. I reviewed this with the mayor and talked about the approach. And I think the approach in talking about how we move into this should and what decision, what information do we need in order for you all to make an informed decision about going forward with this? So I've roughly, and I'll just kind of go down through these. We obviously need the estimated cost. We need the construction cost. We need the repair and maintenance cost, and we need the operating cost. So those are three numbers that I'm in the process of putting together. We also need an estimated timeline for completing the scope of work. We need to talk about features and functionality. What's the difference between the old pool, if we get it, repair it, and the new pool? What would we notice as a difference between the two? So kind of a compare and contrast. We need to talk about funding. You know, what funding do we have available to do this work? Do we have the funding to build a new pool? And I think at this point, it's fair to say that there's some ideas out there, but I don't know that we've got money committed really to do either one of them. But the funding for the new pool, I think is going to be, part of it's going to be coming out of the city, and part of it's going to be coming from, let's say, something like a grant. I think that's a fair statement. We need to talk about budgeting. I think is what you guys need to know is if we go through with this, what's going to be the impact on the annual budget? I think we ought to be able to put a pro forma statement together showing this is where the money's coming from and this is where it's coming out of. And we got some indication going forward how this is going to work on either scenario. And then, you know, there's going to be other things that we need to look at. We need to look at the risk, be able to assess the risk, the probability of it happening, and if it does happen, what's going to be the impact. Just do typical 101 risk analysis. And then talk about how we might mitigate those. So those are some of the things that I'm trying to put together right now that I'd like to bring back to you all and present to you, or give it to you, and I don't know how we want to do this, whether it be one-on-one, couple, you know, 2 at a time or whatever, so that you guys can ask questions and get information.
Well, I think, and sorry for interrupting you, but I think probably going through Park Board
Yeah,
would and maybe that goes without saying,
yes,
but I wanted to speak that and go through Park Board is probably the proper path.
okay. So then I think we've gone from the could, we're now going into the should phase of it, trying to figure out which one of these we should do. And then I think probably the big thing is getting the community involved, the citizens. And I know one of the things that we've talked about is how do we get the citizens engaged in something like this? I think most everybody, the default position is this is not my money, sounds good, let's do it. I mean, that's an easy, you know, people don't feel responsible. The difference is, you know, I've been doing this a long time. I do treat these projects like it's my money. What would I be doing if I was the one that had this money and was making this decision? And hopefully that's what, you know, other people will be doing, is looking at it and say, let's make sure we're spending our money effectively and efficiently. So how do we get this in front of people? I know this is always a challenge. To me, I think our best approach would be, let's meet them where they're at. And what I mean by that is, it's going to take a variety of things. It's not going to take just one thing. People are in a lot of different places, use a lot of different ways they communicate. So just kind of going down through things off the top of my head, we obviously would use the local news publishers, social media, living in Pryor Creek, for those of you that haven't seen that. That's an interesting conversation thread when you go out there from time to time, but a lot of people follow that. Probably need a website to publish this information on. We've got one, pryorcreek.org. We could put this out there. Probably maybe something like a Q&A video on YouTube. We YouTube these meetings. We could do a Q&A video on that, get it out there. Door hangers, done that in the past. They seem to be pretty effective. Put it on somebody's door, they're at least going to take it off the door. They may not read it, but they'll take it off the door. And then inserts in the utility bill. I mean, that's a way to distribute to all the households. We used to have like 3,900 households in Pryor. I have no idea what it is now, but so you can get it there.
It's around 4,300.
4,300? So with that, the next steps that I'm ready to get, you know, I'm working on now, trying to put together, is collect this data and prepare some illustrations on how to present it. Now, how do you get in front of people so it's easy to understand, it's intuitive, and they don't have to read, you know, a book to try to get to the information. And then come back and run it through the process here with, get you guys the information that I have, any information that you guys have that you think would be good to use for assessment and evaluate these alternatives, put that in there, and then we'll run it through the process of the park board, back to the council, and to a vote. So with that, The next time you see me, I should have some information from a document standpoint that I can pass you. And don't hesitate to, if things come up, to give me a call and say, hey, Chris, I just thought about this. This would be good information for us to have in order to be able to make this decision, because ultimately it's gonna lie here. This is the group that's gonna make the decision, and you guys need to have the information.
If you haven't noticed, Chris is championing this cause, so as citizens would contact us as their representatives, it would be important that we transfer the information on over to Chris. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3, department head reports. Building inspector, no report. Emergency management, no report today. By the way, I did get a message said that come Thursday morning, we might have, or sometime during the day, we might have around 1 inch of snow, so that might be fun. Fire department, recognize Chief B.K. Young.
I don't have anything unless y'all got anything for me.
Anyone? Thank you, sir. Golf course, no report today. Library, I believe that you have something from Carrie Rarrett in front of you. She is out ill and sent this so that we could have this information. I don't see anybody here from the library, but I might maybe pick this up and make a few comments. There's going to be a move next week, so our library is going to be closed because of construction, and so we're going to set up shop in Graham Community Building in the big hall there. And there are a lot of moving parts to move things from library over to the Graham Community Building so that the library can be functional, and that will be the location of our library until we're able to move in after the renovation. So that's something that our citizens need to know, and we'll be posting that on the library website, but also on the city website, as well as social media. That's all really I have about that. Parks and Cemetery, there's no report today. Police Department, recognize Chief Nichols.
We don't have anything tonight, Mayor. Becky from the animal shelter is going to kind of give you all a little update on a project we've got going.
Very good. Officer Sams.
We've been working on trying to get together a spay and neuter clinic to try to help out the residents of the city, the ones that can't really afford because of the new ordinance that we put in. It's kind of created some undue burdens on some of the citizens.
Very good. Is that,
I mean, I get it. It is a privilege to own a pet, but some people just can't afford to take care of those animals.
is that an item that's on the agenda?
It is.
That's, so council, that's on the consent agenda, item 6N, I believe. Yes.
So we're just trying to help some of those people out. And we're in partnership with Paws and Bonita and Oklahoma Humane.
Uh-huh.
And it'll cost us around $65 an animal to get them spayed or neutered and vaccinated with a rabies, which is also protecting the citizens.
Do you have any idea of how many animals that you're talking about?
We're gonna try to get 100 done in 2 different sessions. So, which would be 25 cats, 25 dogs.
So people would have to agree to bring them in.
Yeah, we would have to have like a pre-register, so we know how much, rabies vaccinations and everything else to provide.
We had brought it up one time in one of the meetings. I don't know if we've got anything on it where possibly we could maybe go to OSU and the people over there that are studying to be vets or something like that to get some practice. I guess is what you put it that way. I wonder if they might be interested in anything like that.
So they have their own vet that's coming to do this for this price.
Okay,
I feel like that might be better to do with animals that are the shelter animals.
okay.
not somebody's personal pet.
I see,
You
okay,
know what I'm saying, as
Mhm.
far as legalities go on that.
okay.
I would-
Because I know they're gonna have to have patience, if you will, or whatever, to, be able to, work with, so
Yeah,
that might be an opportunity for them to
and
hands-on
they,
training.
they are used to it at PAWS, because they do this
Mm-hmm,
weekly. So the people will come in, they'll bring their pet, they'll wait with their pet
mm-hmm.
while their pet wakes up and everything else, so.
Good.
Anybody have
Sounds
any other
great.
questions? I mean,
Other questions?
the money was coming from donated money for the well-being of pets of Pryor,
Mm-hmm.
so.
How many animals do you have in the shelter?
Right now,
Yeah, just maybe an average or, well, it doesn't have to be specific, I'm just,
I can tell you, hold on. So, it's in your packet that in January, we took in, 18 cats, 30 dogs. So that's a 48 total, and that's just in January. Last year, our number total was 658 animals. So, I mean, spaying a few would probably help those numbers.
Sure enough.
I wish I had the numbers of how many each cat can reproduce, but if you want that, I'll get that for you.
Quite a few.
Yes, it's insane what an unspayed animal can reproduce.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Recreation Center, we have no report tonight, and Street, we also have no report unless, all right. Very good. We'll move to item 4, Mayor's Report, and if you can refer to the addendum. Discuss and possible action regarding approval of the June 30, 2020 Independent Auditor Report of Financial Statements for the City of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma, as presented by Violet Kirkendall of Hood & Associates, PC Certified Public Accountants. Ms. Violet is here with us tonight, and we have the report in front of us. The microphone is yours.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of a different approach. Usually I stand here and make you endure me talking through every page of this report. But 79 pages, I think I'm gonna try a different approach this time. And we sent out the reports earlier for y'all to look at, and you should have a copy there as well. So we got the PowerPoint that we're gonna kinda hit some of the highlights that everybody's really concerned about in the report. So we're gonna go to the next slide. Who's? I'm doing it. Yep, we're ready for that. Okay, this basically just says that for our firm, just some little bit of history in our firm, we're serving Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas, and Missouri now. We have a peer review every 3 years that we've been awarded the highest rating, and we're members of the associations listed. The next page on the scope of the audit, this audit was conducted for June 30th, 2020, and it's on your basic financial statements. And for state and local governments, the basic financial statements are comprised of 3 components. The government-wide financial statements, the fund financial statements, and the notes to the basic financial statements. That's what's included in that 79 pages. It's in a lot of different formats. It's really confusing because all 3 have a different reporting approach. So we're gonna go on the government-wide side, and then we'll talk about some little bits of the fund side. But on our responsibilities, we conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And we plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable, not absolute assurance that the basic financial statements are free of material misstatement. And then we report on your internal controls over financial reporting and compliance with your laws and regulations. The next page, page 5, this is the summary of the results. Basically, it's going to start with the different financial statements. We have the first section being the government-wide financial statements, as I mentioned. There's a column there for governmental activities, which is all city funds, account and activities. We have the business type activities, which is the rec center, the golf course, and the municipal budget, municipal utility board. And this just shows a broad overview of the city's finances in order to, in a manner similar to financial statements of the private sector. And if you're trying to find out which page I'm on, it's gonna be the first set of financial statements, which is going to be on page 20. This is the statement of net position, and it's basically the balance sheet part of the government-wide financial statements. And then on page 21, statement activities, this is the revenues and expenditures of the government-wide activities. And again, we have the column for the governmental activities and the business type activities. And overall, for fiscal year 20, there was a combined increase in your net position or your equity of $2,279,105, which is on page 22 at the bottom, right side there at the bottom where it says $2,279,105, which is considered to be quite healthy in a government setting at fiscal year 20 and now. So the next set of financial statements starts on page 23, and this is the fund financial statements. And this generally, the approach on these financial statements is kind of a cash flow for the funds, as if you get loan proceeds or loan payments, those are showed as income, as expenses. There's no depreciation on these financial statements. It's basically the revenues you brought in or income that came in as deposits and money that went out. So the general fund is what we consider a major fund because it has all the activities. The other funds are all the other government activities that have been set aside for specific purpose, special revenue funds. The general fund itself, which had an increase of fund balance of $274,000, which is on page 26, $274,384. On the income and expense column, the net change in fund balance there of it's the first column, $274,384. All the other governmental funds in combination had a total increase in or net income of $654,769. which brings you to the total change in net fund balances or net income for all funds on the right of $929,153. Then the next set of financial statements on page 28 is what represents the split out of the business type activities. And there is, between the government-wide proprietary business type activities numbers and this set of financial statements, there's no change because of the way that they do require us on these type of funds to record your fixed assets and depreciation in what we call the fund statement. So the first page on 28 is the balance sheet for the proprietary funds. And then on page 29, this is your statement of net position or your income statement. And at the bottom, the change in net position for all three funds that I had mentioned were included. To the far right, you had a net income on those funds of $1,546,719. The next page, page 30, is a statement of cash flows for the proprietary funds. And this basically just shows where money came in or was used or provided on the cash basis for the proprietary fund. So at the bottom, you see cash and cash equivalents at the end of the year increase there of $1,046,041. That's what your cash balance has increased. You had a net income there of $1,546,719, but your income increased $1,046 on the cash basis. So basically, the rest of it is narrative information about your accounting policies and procedures. But part of the communication that we try to give to you as the board is that on illegal acts, we test to see if anything comes to our attention as a result of performing our audit procedures, and nothing came to our attention in that area. There were no changes in significant accounting policies this year. There were no difficulties or disagreements with management, and we had cooperation and full access to all records. The next page, page 7, is on your financial audit, there are 3 basic questions. The first is usually, are the financial statements free of material misstatements? We've issued an unqualified opinion on the financial statements that they are fairly presented in all material respects. Unqualified sounds not good, but it's the best you can have. So it's kind of a backwards approach to everything like government is. So the second question usually is, Our internal controls over financial reporting adequately designed and operating effectively. We did not notify any deficiencies in internal controls that we consider to be material weaknesses. And then the third is, did the city of Pryor Creek in all material respects comply with the finance-related laws and regulations? And we had no material non-compliance. And that is a summary of the report. If you all have any other questions involved in all the 79 pages, I'll be sure and glad to answer those for you, if I haven't already, so.
That was a very concise, awesome summary. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I know everybody's eyes glaze over when I go through all 79 pages, so.
We appreciate you not doing that. So you made several comments that we're in a good position as of the end of fiscal year 2020.
Right.
Right. And so we're also working on our 2021.
Right.
And
You want me to say something about that?
yes, I would be glad for you to say something about that.
Jeff and I work in partnership on getting this audit done. He does the accounting side, I do the audit side.
Right.
Right, and the 2021 work is actually done. The report is being drafted. It probably would have been done, but I was sick for the month of January. So, other than that, it's in about halfway drafted. So, we're working on it. So as soon as I get that done, it will go to her. She will audit. So probably in a month or so, or two, she'll be back presenting again.
Very, very good, very good. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I know
we'll
that the
try to
21 item was not part of the motion, but it was worth
Yeah, you need some clarification, I understand.
getting a report from there. In your audit process, did you see or find, do you have specific recommendations for us?
I have everything.
Normally auditors don't do that. They just give a report.
Right.
But you've
And-
known us for a long time.
Right, I have. And this year, even though we had some difficulties, getting completion of just a lot of factors and combined, but the format, before, it was all hand ledgers, and it's now converted, thanks to Jeff's office, converted to electronic. So that was very helpful for me on doing my job, because, it takes a lot of time to go through hand-posted records. He was never off $1, but it was very hard to translate when we're in an electronic world. So I was very thankful for that. So that was very helpful. And the ladies, every time I send them a list over before I get here and say, I need this, this, and this, and this, and it's always proper and provided to me just like I need it. So, if I had difficulties, I'd be sure and voice that, but I've not had any yet. I mean, we've had to, look for some things, but hey, we've always came up with it, so.
Very good. Council, any questions for Violet?
No.
At all?
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. Thanks for all the work, both of you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's a motion and there's a second. Is there any more?
We didn't make a
We
motion.
hadn't made a motion.
We have not made a motion. Did I miss that?
Yes.
you did.
Wow, was that the first time? I entertain a motion.
We'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion Chitwood, second Smith. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, call for vote.
Petter,
Yes.
Pryor,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Brakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Motion carries. Under Mayor's Report, item A, discussion regarding Pryor Main Street fundraising campaign of brick pavers in the downtown corridor. This component of the wayfinding placemaking project will raise needed funds toward the expense of the project. Ms. Jenny LaFave is here, and this is not an action item, this is a discussion item.
Yeah, this is an
Go right ahead.
update / if you have any questions, plus to give you a quick update on how we got here and where we are at this point. So we approved a streetscape plan for downtown several months ago. And this is part of it, and I believe everyone else here has the PDF form of it, but I'll email it to you too, so that you can have it. You're welcome. And so we know we're going after phase 1, and this is the year that we're gonna be applying for grants Well, we were approached by the Hope Coalition that we're going to do the TSET grant to pay for the phase 1, so we've been working with them. And at last meeting, I believe you guys talked about the non-acceptance of tobacco funds and different things like that. That's also included in the same grant that we're talking about. So for this, it's a 1-to-1 match, and for part of the funds, we're always trying to find ways, that way it's not taking, directly from any fund here, or Main Street. So one way that's been super productive in other communities for streetscape plans would be selling the bricks, and I know that was brought up here by someone. And so we wanted to utilize that idea in the phase 1. So I brought this to, essentially where they would go would be walking, because we don't want them to be the driven on pavers, because then the cost goes up. So it'd be in this area, and I think that you guys might have more specifically where they are in your packets, but we're gonna start hopefully promoting those to be sold by the end of this week. There's a few things that we have to nail out to make sure we have our ducks in a row before we go that direction. We have an account right now that's set up and ready just specifically for this, and then we're using a company that's gonna take a small fee from each brick, but they're this is all they do. It's Funding Bricks is actually the name of the company, and so we're gonna funnel everything through them, and then we'll through their system, we'll be able to keep track of the names, so people will be able to purchase a brick for, I believe the amount that we're looking at is $150, and then we'll use that as a fundraiser. What we make from that, they can get their name, their spouse's name, receiver name, whatever you want on there, everyone's name on here, either way. Or you could do a business or anything like that, and so you can buy one or multiple and hopefully offset a lot of this cost. So we're looking at a big chunk that we could possibly get with this. So I'm here to update you that that's the route we're gonna go, / if you have any questions.
Could we see the brick?
Yeah, so this is the exact color. Do you guys want it, or do you wanna look at it? I will not throw it at you.
Just pass it
So
down then.
it's, yeah, I can do that. So the only difference, it's gonna be the exact thing, so it's gonna be a 4x8. The only difference is that the letters are gonna be in all caps, just to kind of save us from a few hiccups. So that's the only difference, but that's gonna be the exact same thing. It's just gonna be the pavers, and it's gonna be included in the grant, the installation and stuff like that. So we're just always trying to look for funding alternatively rather than asking for direct money.
Now, is that gonna be engraved down in there, other than that black paint?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be, exactly what it is. It should be a little bit engraved down in
Sort
there.
of etched, yeah.
Yeah.
It is kind of indented.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be pretty much exactly what it is, except for the font. And they say that these are all over. I think somewhere in OSU has these exact ones, and so, and that was another reason why we wanted to do the more walkable areas rather than the driving, because the maintenance with that would be something I don't think we'd wanna keep up with.
The black color is a color that is the most resistant to UV rays, and that's one of the reasons why they put black in there.
It's nice.
So if you have any other questions, I'm here too, so, but if not, there's my
Other
update.
questions?
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Item B, discussion possible action regarding adopting a workforce wellness policy required for pending TSET grant. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion Shropshire, second Chitwood. This item is in your packet somewhere between the pages of 8 and 18. Any discussion, any comments? Most of these items that are in this wellness policy, we already do in our city. And we do this in various ways. Our rec center this is something that was sent to council from budget personnel this past week. It went through that avenue because having to do with personnel, it's appropriate to do that. Well, hearing no discussion, no comments, we'll call for vote.
Well, real quick,
Yeah,
is this gonna like make employees who do use tobacco products have to physically walk off property somewhere for a smoke break?
yes.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of a state law now anyway?
It is.
I thought it was.
And we have posting in, I'm not sure on all of our properties, but posting on our buildings and in that regard. Other discussion? Call for vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Brightfield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yeah.
Motion carries. Item C, discussion possible action regarding adopting a Pryor City tobacco-free and vapor-free policy required for the pending TSET grant. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion Chitwood, second Smith. Discussion? Hearing none, call for vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Brightfield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yeah.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item D, discussion possible action regarding authorizing mayor to sign the Oklahoma Tobacco Settlement Endowment Trust TSET certification of non-acceptance of tobacco funds. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion Shropshire, second Smith. Discussion? Hearing none, call for vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Brightfield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yeah.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 5, there is no city attorney's report. Are there any comments, Mr. Ritchie?
None.
Thank you. Item 6, discussion and possible action on consent agenda. Item A, approval minutes, February 1, 2022 council meeting. B, approve payroll purchase orders through February 18, 2022. C, approve claims for purchase orders through February 15, 2022. D, acknowledge receipt of deficient purchase orders. E, approve October 2021 appropriations. F, discussion possible action regarding approval of change order within the 2021-22 project Pryor Streets for additional paving as in the best interest of the city in the amount of $159,925.80 and expensed from street asphalt overlay account number 141455410. Item G, discussion possible action regarding accepting the resignation of Kenneth Cooper from the Pryor Creek Fire Department effective January 31st, 2022. Item H, excuse me, discussion possible action regarding an expenditure from Fund 80, the Library Building Fund, in the amount of $4,150 to Index Incorporated of Tulsa for 5 each security system motion detectors and 5 each door contacts, which add to the already installed security monitoring system at the library. These needed items are to be used for the library expansion, but were not included on the plans, nor are they included on any bid list. Item I, excuse me, discussion possible action approving Mayor Lees and Carrie Rarrett, Library Director, to sign agreement for the 2022 state aid recipients and acceptance of grant funds for the Thomas J. Harrison Public Library in the amount of $10,155 from State of Oklahoma 2021 Oklahoma Department of Library State Aid to be received into Library Special Cash Account number 920004233. Item J, discussion possible action to approve hotel motel final expense report for Pryor Area Chamber of Commerce / Pryor Patchers Quilt Guild Quilt Show September 17 through September 18 of 2021 in the amount of $3,000. Item K, discussion possible action to approve hotel motel final expense report for Pryor Area Arts and Humanities Northeast Oklahoma Area Artists Show October 8 through 16, 2021 in the amount of $2,000. Item L, discussion possible action to approve hotel motel final expense report for Pryor Area Chamber of Commerce 2021 Christmas Parade of Lights on December 2nd, 2021 in the amount of $2,425. Item M, Discussion possible action regarding expenditure of the amount of $7,540 at state Sourcewell contract price from Lakeland Office Systems for new Sharp MX4071 printer /scanner /copier/fax for the city clerk's office from Clerk Supplies Office Account 02-201-5031. Item N, discussion possible action to approve the expenditure of $6,500 to partner with the Oklahoma Humane Northeast to provide free spay, neuter with rabies vaccine to 50 animals on March 18 and 50 animals on April 29, limited to 2 animals per household inside city limits. This will be paid from donations that were intended to assist with the health welfare of animals from Animal Shelter Donations Account 96-965-5525. This is the consent agenda. Which items would council like to remove?
A and G,
A, G,
F and H,
F,
and H.
H. Are there others? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve all of the items
Motion.
that are not included in A, F, G, and H.
Second.
Motion Ketcher, second Smith. Call for vote.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item A, approval minutes, February 1st, 2022, council meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion?
Second.
Motion Shropshire, second Ketcher. Discussion? Call for vote.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Abstain.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item F, discussion possible action regarding approval of change order within the 2021-22 project Pryor Streets for additional paving as in the best interest of the city in the amount of $159,925.80 and expense from street asphalt overlay account 141455410. Is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion Chitwood, second Smith. Discussion.
Yeah, can we ask the engineer to come up and explain this and
Mr. Powell is here.
what the
Do that.
overall project, what this percentage is of the project?
Yes. Happy to do that. This is a pretty sizable change order, but I agree with the mayor that I believe, after we've had several meetings on this, that this is in the best interest of the city. A little bit of background so that we know where we're headed from. Back in September, we awarded a contract to Dunham Asphalt Company for rehab of the streets throughout the city in our ongoing program that's basically an annual program. Prior to that, we had a contractor that was in here doing some work at the cemetery last May. And it was at that time that we determined that one of the things that we would like to get done, and we're going to try to get done through that contractor, were some spot repairs, places around the city where water line repairs had been done, any kind of utility repairs had been done, potholes that were getting out of control, and we generated a list for that contractor. Unfortunately, timing of that list and when he finally got numbers back to us didn't work out, and he got done with the cemetery project and left town. So we were kind of left in a position where we were waiting for the rehab project to start. Of course, we had a good contractor. We had lots of competition, but the dollar value for that amount of work was on the high side of what we had originally intended for that project. So I deferred these spot repairs at that time until we got further into the process of that program.
Dunham Asphalt has done a really good job as far as the street repairs. He got in here, he did the work quickly, did the work efficiently, and was just sort of like, was ready to leave town, and I went, wait a minute, we haven't talked about the spot repairs that we needed to do. So we finally got the weather set in. He had a mechanical breakdown with the very last segment that he needed to do. He'd done some of the work on 2nd Street. And so we had some opportunity to kind of talk with him about the spot repairs that we had. That list that I assume everyone has from
Page
that contract,
23 and 24 in your packet.
expanded from the original list. It was also supplemented by the first 4 items that you see there that are MUB related, spot repairs or repairs to the streets as a result of either major water line repairs or work that was done in conjunction with their activities. And so as it turned out, we ended up getting a dollar value from Dunham Asphalt, and the dollar value was, as you see tonight, was a very large number. And so I wanted to have meetings with the street department, street committee chairman, mayor, and Buddy and I met several times regarding these items. The intent was to determine exactly whether we wanted to undertake all of these repairs or take a look at trying to establish some priority for some of these spot repairs. It's good to note that some of these spot repairs have been under scrutiny for over a year. We've had them. We've even gone so far as to go in and put some synthetic material in there to try to make it better for the traveling public, but that stuff doesn't last in a patch situation. So about a month and a half ago, Buddy and I went out with the contractor, and we went through and we decided what we need to do is we need to look at how to fix these problems correctly. Not just fill a pothole, but find out why that pothole's happening and maybe repair an area that's a little larger than a pothole with the intent of correcting any problems with the base or anything that's underneath the pavement. Again, this total square area that we're looking at turned out to be a little bit larger than we all thought, and maybe it was a pie in the sky approach to looking at all the repairs. Several priority things I want to point out. Let me just say that the change order we're talking about here would basically amount to a 29% increase in the contract that we have with Dunham Asphalt now. Still an open contract with the city. There's always this discussion about how much can you increase a contract without having to go through the competitive bid process. And I've touched on this several times with the council, but I'll take a minute here and talk about it again. Once you initiate a contract, once you have a signed contract between the municipality and the contractor, you can increase that contract with a mutual agreement of both parties. You can increase that contract however you need to. It's when one party or the other party decides that that increase is not something that's acceptable. In the case of the city side, if it's outside the budget, that you have monies available to you, you can't issue a contract that you don't have encumbered funds for or funds availability. If it's from the contractor standpoint, if he bid a project or if he bid a unit price that was such that if you increase that by 29% or 30% beyond that theoretical 15% rule, then he has an opportunity to either recover some of the costs that he might have, increased costs. He might have to pay a different unit price for the delivery of those materials now. In this case, it is above that 15% rule, but as long as both parties, assuming this council approves it tonight, since it's been presented by Dunham Asphalt as their idea, if both parties agree to it, you can exceed that 15% rule that seems to be out there. I have checked with the Oklahoma General Contractor Association here in Oklahoma. There is a hard and fast rule regarding residential construction, but there is not one in commercial construction, and there's not one pertaining to municipal governments, as long as both parties agree. Okay? Second item, and I think a priority item is, even with this change order, we are within the budget that the city has set aside for doing street repairs. So we're not allocating or trying to reallocate funds that are not in that fund. Those funds are in there at this time. Since this project began back in September, petroleum prices and specifically distillate prices associated with asphalt emulsifiers has gone up 38% from the time that we bid this project. However, this contractor has held the line on those items in that regard. So we're getting the benefit of him already being in town, the fact that he has an existing contract. And I think it's fair to mention that as indicated, Dunham Asphalt has done a really good job for the city of Pryor. And if we do put this back out on the street, if that's the wishes of this council to advertise and bid this contract, that we might get a contractor that's not as good as Dunham Asphalt has been and shown on this project. I might also mention that some of the discussion in the meeting that we had was also centered around where does this put us for next year's street repair work and how this might impact the 22-23 funding situation. It was discussed that the street department has some very important needs for equipment upgrades, and so that there's some trucks, dump trucks that they need for that are outdated and on their last leg, and they would like to get those repaired. So the thought was, if we go ahead and issue this contract amendment to do this work, that this would constitute the majority of, if not the vast majority of, the street work that we would propose for the 22-23 year fiscal year, and that the monies in the account that would come up as a result of the sales tax that goes to that, some of that would be used for the equipment purchase that Buddy and his crew is asked for, and funds that were left over or still in that account could be used for minor drainage projects that we have around town, and we have a lot of those that we have not really addressed to any degree for several years. But this may be an opportunity for us to undertake some of the stabilization work that we need to do around town for some of the drainage work, and then defer any next street repair until the next fiscal year. I might also mention that we've looked at this list several times, and Buddy and I both agree that with the inclusion of these items today, we think we've hit the vast majority, if not all, of the bad places in town with the streets that are in desperate need of repair at this point in time. The last time I came up and talked to this board, we talked about 9th Street and our long-term needs for 9th Street. That is still in the books, but if we can go in and make these spot repairs that we're talking about in front of the high school and points to the east on that area, that we might get another 4 or 5 years out of that pavement before we have to decide we're going to do something. Because everyone knows the bus barn has been relocated out on far east 9th Street, so the increase in traffic on 9th Street has really degraded that pavement in front of the rec center, in front of the high school, and all the way past Oklahoma Street to a much more rapid degree than it had before. I think long-term, we're looking at doing some pretty major improvements or changes to that pavement to give us better life, since that bus barn's going to be there for the foreseeable future. And there's other improvements out in that area that have been rumored and talked about. So with that, I'll try to answer any questions.
The only question I have is, you brought it up, I'll ask Kim. Kim, the 15% rule,
I've been convinced that it's okay.
that's all I wanted to hear, because that's all I wanted to know. I knew.
Questioned it.
Huh?
I questioned it in the beginning.
Because that was my concern, is the 15% rule. So if you're convinced and that it's good enough for that, then I'm ready to go.
I might also draw attention to council the detail ledger sheet that I printed for that item 14-145-5410. Originally, there was a budget amount of $733,123. We have spent $500,042 on the street work. We have a balance of $193,133 in that account. So if we spend the $159,925.80, that leaves us a balance of $33,207.20. And with the potential to recover from Municipal Utility Board, items 1 through 4, which we'll petition to them to do that. That's about $19,000 to add to that. So we'd have, at the end of the budget year, about $52,257 left in that account, which would, we could put that in the coffers and maybe spend that for some equipment next year or add to it what we need.
Okay.
Discussion, questions for Mr. Powell?
The question's already been answered.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. There's a motion. Call for vote.
Seaver,
Yes.
Etcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible action regarding accepting resignation of Kenneth Cooper from Pryor Creek Fire Department effective January 31, 2022.
Mr. Mayor, before we have a motion, should that be retirement instead of resignation?
Mr. Ritchie.
I don't think that it matters, but certainly we could.
Well, to me, there's a difference.
Would you like to make a motion to amend,
Yes, sir, I would.
to
Can we
strike,
amend that?
can we strike that?
Scrivener's error.
Scrivener's error.
That's kind of
Amend my motion with the Scrivener's error.
Both start.
Okay.
Scrivener's error, so we changed resignation to retirement.
Retirement upon resignation.
Very good.
Thank you.
Does that need action? Not for Scrivener's error.
Amended the motion. Amend the motion.
I'm in the motion.
And the second. Very good.
Miss-
Mr. Cooper, thank you for your
Yes.
faithful service to our city through your service with the fire department.
Thank you, Kenny, and good luck in your future.
How long was you actually,
A little over 25 years. I can't believe it's been that long.
That's a lot of service.
Yep.
you seen the good, the bad, and the ugly? Huh?
I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I would invite the audience and council to give him. Thank you for your service.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. Call for vote.
Etcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chipwood,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item H, discussion and possible action regarding an expenditure from Fund 80, Library Building Fund, in the amount of $4,150 to Index Incorporated of Tulsa for 5 each security system motion detectors and 5 each door contacts, which add to the already installed security monitoring system at the library. These needed items are to be used for the library expansion, but were not included on the plans, nor are they included on any bid list. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Shropshire, and second, Chitwood. Discussion?
Yeah, my question is to the attorney, you know, is right here, again, it says, already installed security system. Does that, you know, does that meet the legal requirements as best interest, or should we change the language in that? Because, you know, here
Well, we're adding additional equipment.
I know, but
Already
still yet,
installed
and
system.
we're just adding additional equipment, so, but there's other vendors out there that might be able to be able to bid that additional equipment to comply. You know, I don't know, I just don't like the language. I think it's good, but I just don't,
Is it like a sole source? Is it?
It's an expansion
Are
of,
they not compatible or
I don't think it's sole source, that's my issue. I think somebody else could do the thing right there, so. I don't think anybody's against it, but I think it just needs to be best interest or something
Yeah.
like. I'm gonna make a motion to table to change the language and come back. Let Kim draft the language for clarification.
Would it be appropriate to get Carrie Raritt on the phone and ask her to address it?
Well, my issue is that no matter what she says, it's just already installed security monitoring system. I just don't think.
We're just trying to match up.
Yeah.
We're trying to match up what we already have in the system.
But if you got index here, but then Safeguard could have something else that matches up to it. I'm sure there's other people that match up to it, so we can get her on the phone, but, you know, I think there's other vendors.
I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and table it and come back with a new agenda item. which
Make a motion to
May
table.
well need to be in best interest for not bidding.
Very good. Motion to table Trammell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second Chitwood. Discussion on the table. None? Call for vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes?
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yep.
Motion carries to table. Item 7, committee reports, budget personnel. Ms. Brakefield?
We don't have anything to report, just that our next budget meeting is March 8th, 2022, at 5:30.
Thank you. Item B, ordinance insurance, Ms. Shropshire.
Yes, we have a meeting on March the 10th at 5:30.
All righty. Item C, street committee, Ms. Smith.
Oh, I haven't heard anything yet, but, you know, we have a meeting next week possibly, but I have no agenda items, so right now, nothing.
All right, thank you. Item 8, unforeseeable business, no of none. Item 9, adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Ketcher, motion, second Smith. Call for vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Motion carries. Pryor Public Works Authority, item 1 we'll call to order. Item 2, approval minutes, February 1st, 2022 meeting.
Motion. Second.
Motion, Shropshire, second Ketcher. Call for vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Abstain?
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 3, discussion and possible action regarding approval of a 3% rate increase from Pryor Waste and Recycle for twice per week residential refuse pickup. This action is consistent with mutual agreement of October 2007 for an allowed 3% increase for refuse pickup per year. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion Chitwood, second Smith. Discussion? Hearing none, call for vote.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 4, unforeseeable business, no of none. Mr. Ketcher, would you like
Make
the
a motion
motion?
to adjourn.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Ketcher.
Second.
Second, Mr. Smith. Call for vote.
Wakefield,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Ketcher,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Chitwood,
Yes.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
We are done and out.
Yay. Tried to get you out of here, sorry about that, I had to. I know.
You tried. You still kept your